Uh, well, I suppose the sun's behind my head, so you can see the trees a little bit. I just took my hair down. I went to go visit my friend in Ohio, like 6 hours out, 5.5. And my daughter got her hair cut. That was fun. um, it was difficult for my baby in ways that I don't want to talk about for all sorts of reasons. Again, oh well, whatever. So now I'm in the middle. Anyways, so I get on the telegram. Really? We're at it again? Y'all. Tori's gonna laugh at me. I did a different video in which I highlighted 2 of her quotes. I have discovered some information regarding our medical big data and how it's being scraped to build the blockchain more locally, which has been going on for a while. It's not new, okay? And I knew based on certain fraudulent people doxing non-vaxxer and making very specific accusations with an elements change. You go into the PayPal or whatever, and then you change the elements tab in your browser and make it look like somebody did something to your PayPal or your credit card. But you don't call your credit card company and you don't call PayPal. You just take a screenshot of the browser and then you change the elements tab. And for the folks that aren't nerds, that means you can make it look like somebody stole 10 grand from you or 5 or whatever. So then you go dox that person and you say, I have receipts. And that's the screenshot you show, which is of your browser with a change that those of us from back in the day with Adobe Photoshop 6.0, and we know how to change CSS, those cascading files, for basic hypertext markup language, HTML. Yeah, and using Dreamweaver then shortly thereafter, and I just change out the elements, write some notes in the code that no one else will see unless they look for it. Wow, how smart you're not. So instead of showing a filing with PayPal or a filing with your credit card company, your receipt is pure fraud. But in the process of that, the bit.ly links came up for all these products that people sell, and then they put a link to their product. And then what they do is they tell you, whoever you are, that you will be an affiliate. And for every click, they get paid, and you get paid a percentage. So you're putting their affiliate links all over everything, and because you want more clicks, because every click is a contributor to you getting paid money. And these systems with these affiliate links are everywhere in all sorts of ways. So like Pokemon Go, they built out the mapping of where people were going and testing the reward systems of if we put this much of a rare character there versus a not rare character, how many people will go anyways, and how many people can we entice with the rare character? Oh, it's just a game. Yeah, it's called game theory with computer networking. Yeah, game theory is applicable to more than just video games. I'm just going to assume y'all are smart enough to know that because you're a very smart audience. So, the affiliate links paying money. And we're sitting there months ago, and I'm before different things happened, and I'm looking going, feeder grids. Well, I know that bitty sticks, sat phones, that's one way. The LoRa is another way. Did we find LoRa with your newest way to do it? Yeah. Did the radio frequency assholes on the BitChute that lied about me, made fun of me, did they lie about the LoRa to the prepper class? Yeah, you can go off grid. And I said, the LoRa talks to our power grid. It's a biotokenized economy. The SPIDER is an acronym for pulling energy harvesting W-band energy to power your coffee pot in your smart home with LoRa. Whoopsie. And so when I saw that, I'm like, those databases that you're clicking on using LoRa for your biomedical telemetry, not a problem. Why? Because LoRa's talking to the power grid. Network architecture, just so we're clear, when it comes to the packets, they have an origin and a destination. How they get where they're going, then how the information is unwound, but at what layer of computer networking, then what hardware where, programmable gate arrays, field programmable in the air molecules gate arrays, PU, on board, controlled underground with networks, physical computer networks for things like Sage radar, ground radar, that tethers to the cable company, which most people who have internet access are purchasing their internet access with a cable modem from an internet service provider who is tethered to your cable company head end, who runs the fiber or the copper under your house. But it's not just for you, it's for your power company, your water company, and every other commercial company. Oh, well, I use Spectrum, and then these people use Time Warner. That depends on where you live and who owns most of the fiber. And I promise you, the head ends that run all the fiber and copper, those head ends answer to the government for missile defense, national security, cyber security. Because national security, that has to do with U.S. Marshals and FBI, and they're using like the eGuardian program at a sensor fusion center with your local police, who are using the radio frequency in the dirt boxes, whether in a little backpack or whatever, to look through your house with a little more than infrared. DEA, parallel construction, SIGINT, raw data. Hey, we ain't going to decrypt it for you. So another agency writes you some software in a very special type of thread software kind of Mac ID assigned way. Well, you know, how'd you get it? But even reading out the formal documentation the NSA has oversight, you should see what they have with their friends AT&T. By law. Resumes matter. But I would say in this day and age that, as I recently shown with Pavlov's resume, they matter, but it's the application of what you do with what you know that really matters today. So, this entire system of affiliate links, scraping big data, making tons of money. It's your cyber Bitcoin miners, hardcore. And everybody knows that Bitcoin takes a lot of power and energy to to build and to play with, etc. once those tokens are created. And then here comes the math people. Oh, but only so many tokens, but that's whatever. You guys know that you're scraping that data out of a human body. You're not able to bypass that. Your code is very direct about it. But what they tell you is they're using passive radar. Yeah, it's called Human Activity Recognition Radar with the IEEE EMBS. We've shown it many times. So as soon as I saw the LoRa, and then I saw the way that you're using the spine leaf, you go out to a wide open radio frequency place, like a Starbucks or Wi-Fi at a truck stop, and you start scraping people who are sitting in the Denny's eating. It's not illegal. You know why? There are no targeted individuals. Not illegal. And then you'll tell me, well, but they can't hit everyone's bands, Sabrina. Oh, yes, they can. Because the software they're given to use has black boxed networks, dark fiber, visible light communication, whatever. That's all written into the way your software and hardware route. And then we have redundancy on that because we have ears everywhere with everything all the time and not just ears. Full spectrum dominance is full. Touch, taste, smell, sound, neurons, you name it. It's a biological signal. We got it somewhere. Redundantly. National Science Foundation 20 years ago, NANOG, North American Operators Guild 45, or 2 years ago with the Russian photonics radar from Command and Control ISR. Did I stutter? Lying mother. There's Grandma's listening. So, once we figured all that out, and I put it together this weekend, that brought me back to seeing some really scary crap under the microscope. And my husband and I, for the first time in all my endeavors online, we had a very lengthy conversation. Now, we've talked hither and yon before, but this is synthetic biology, and what everybody's been asking is, how come everybody's not dead? And I said, they need you. But when I realized that the real reason for the breakdown of the gray goo on the inside of people, that's what Oncogene Onwards is all about. Your immune system breaks down, your body can't recover from all the misfolded proteins. Well, that's called prion disease. You know what you left out, like normal? DNA origami with molecular communication and the AlphaGo protein folding for you, augmenting at places like the Michigan University or the Marriott. Your protein folding for yourselves out of other humans? Well, sure. Just like the hackers, they're just dredging big data, getting paid by these little companies that they just want to build faster biometric databases for biomedical because they love you. So you're not worried about when their body is logged into. In the same way, augmented humans since 2011 at the University of Illinois for technology of wireless sensor networks. They connect with their digitwin. Their digitwin says, hey, other digitwin, I need some of your red blood cell energy in the following nano-sized. Or micrometer. I need that cell structure more than you do. Wireless drugging time. Let's trade cells. That's your new vaccine. You're breathing it in. And I, Miss Sabrina, I read to you numerous times. That's an exogenous signal. Oh. Now, at the core of every single thing that I just spent 12 minutes plus laying out for you is the human anatomy that they all use and log into. Every single system, every single software. Thus, Sosa, Mosa, Osa, Wosa, CMOS, and Face. So each time that I looked again, National Science Foundation, dark fiber with quantum drones, quantum encryption since 2016. And there's your Laura and your tokenized economy, that amazing Polly, who non-vaxxer has her on his channel for a reason. That particular show she did way back, I think 2021, bio-tokenized economy with a blockchain you all said would never come. But on our channel, we said it's been there since 2011 with Professor Achildes, the bodies in cybersecurity in 2011 with Oxford, give you a disease and take it away electronically. What is going on here? Sabrina, how come not everybody's dead? Well, the more people that are walking around with their cells breaking down into gray goo in their veins and arteries, well, then they can DNA protein fold right into those people, take whatever cells they need. The difference is that, see, this is a system that's engineered on genetics and synthetic biology. So if the person you're taking the cell structure from is not close enough to your genetics, normally that would be a problem. But we have a bunch of nano stuck in people and nobody will admit it. So as their cell structure breaks down, it all goes gray goo until the last little white kamikaze blood cell runs out. And then you end up like the people in Philadelphia, bent over at the waist, or you're so exhausted all the time. It's all your fault. You're genetically mismatched. But the 1,000 molecule program from DARPA, in which they're making your body create these molecules with spikes on the proteins that we use the same MRI and CTs, we look for spikes. It's called a biomarker. Biomarkers are comprised of your biological signals. Did you leave that out? Yeah, You said everybody would have misfolded proteins known as prions, mad cow disease style. Well, if I'm an augmented human logging in and out of people willy-nilly, and I've destabilized their human biological field, that's their morpho fields, the morphogenesis, for regenerative medicine as well. And then I'm in the interstitium, and I'm pushing, and I'm pulling, and I'm hitting them, and it's another exogenous signal, and it's magnetic. What about the standing waves and the carrier waves in use by our missile defense under their feet? So then, if I'm an augmented human, I walk past them, and I can put in them or take out of them, just like the hybrid W-band security protocol in the digital forensics in 2011 with Oxford, whatever I want. Thus, Department of Homeland Security biological surveillance and the eGuardian program, the sensor fusion centers, the U.S. Marshals, everybody involved, because the sensor technology is ubiquitous for 30 years. So, given that your feeder grids coming off the feeder satellite links to your internet service provider and then out to anyone using your big fat copper and fiber pipes to and through the backbone of the whole United States, it's really easy with software-defined networking to grab up that big data and put it in our own little personal database of people that we want to stay focused on. And that's the labeling and curation that was spoken on during the Jake's Pentagon presentation, in which Secretary of Defense Mark Esper was present, and I took notes, and I was horrified. We want to get AI in everything we do. The umbrella projects, trade wins, arguing about who's going to get it, Microsoft, Amazon. And then the DEF CON, sucking up to DHS. Mayorkas, personally, on the stage. Exactly. So, that is the back end of what I'm looking at right now, that I'm sure, because of your Q software and how easy that went out. And but what I'm referring to is closer, not entirely there yet, because Pegasus is more with your foreign stuff and you said whatever. But for me, Sabrina, it's all a series of networks, and networks talk to each other, or they don't and won't. They literally do not connect. So when I talk about Link 16, for the normal people, missile guidance systems that also watch bodies and particulate in the atmosphere, like everything. The trees, the mycelial networks, that's fungus. Weather control as well. Oh yes, beam steering. Link 16, yeah. Then the Osiris with Lockheed. Nuclear energy particulate control, not only for national defense, but CBRN and legitimate dispersion of radiological particulate to protect from either an EMP strike or a real nuclear attack. You're going to turn that off? Do you know what you have to have in order to make that happen? You have to have the epigenetics of every cell at every structure on the scalar in the entire vicinity, the entire perimeter. But you're special. You have a magic amulet or some haptic gear, you're special. Got a plastic paperweight somewhere that's magical. That's what I found. Because I worked at a time when they were transitioning. Everything old was wide open because it was transitioning to cable modem. I found out about the body area networks in 2019 going to the post office, and ever since, I have been reverse engineering, unafraid to be wrong. It is a new year for me in many ways. But one of the most important ways is that how many people out there I see now talking about what I've explained for almost 3 years, and they're doing it with compassion and love. I seek to protect them further by laying out very clearly how our national security, open source, without getting into specific encryption, protocol hooking, my tiny anything, and other things that I know about. My dad worked on your elephant cages, and Uncle Bobby was there to see them be started with very old systems. Okay, so now see, there it goes. And I don't really care to get into all that because that brushes up against interoperability that might actually help save lives, one way or another. So I just don't want to get into it. And I don't need to. Here's why. In the past 3 years, I worked really hard to educate, and I thought you guys would want to know. And when we saw the amount of grifters and the horrible things our government paid to have done to me, and other people too, actually, but I'm gonna stick with myself because that's the only thing I can absolutely verify. We were all really disturbed, but it's simple. They horse and buggy. They've been making money. So they've went full, like I told you, cable modem to body area network. You just don't know it yet. You're seeing it though. 48 hours into office. Well, let's do it. Let's give you cancer, take it away. So these people that have, like the other day, having to go through Clathrin cubed again, and I realized the reason they've had everyone so screwed up with vaccine and quantum dot and all these red herrings, I learned with Professor Chadwick via juxtaposition. And so I started making that list by hand, the way a sources and use statement would be done. Only with computer networks. Because that was the job that I wanted. It's the job I studied for. Long time ago, and then when Jack died. Just so we're clear, those YouTube seminars that I attended were pretty wide open because software-defined networking with your search engine optimization was going crazy in 2012 and 13. So me being there with MIT professors, we're sitting next to each other because it was a major update in telecommunications. You don't get to sit out and then keep doing your job because you'll get busted with the threat landscape of people hacking your company. And companies, they don't put up with that. Hire somebody else that knows what they're fucking doing. What's that? It's business. So when I found the bands in 2019, I realized with software-defined networking and the digital network architecture with the network function virtualization, you could get anywhere you wanted to. Who was going to stop you? Then I found the quantum drones. You know what's on a Cisco control plane for the quantum? Those of you that love the double slit experiment, in the routing. Every possible particle position of what you'll do. And every particulate, every molecule in the atmosphere, too. Oh, Heavenly Father, please give me the strength. Amen. So, Sabrina, why didn't they just murder everybody? Because they installed an interface to extract cell structure for themselves in their augmented states and their liminal spaces. Because they've been doing that and working on it since the 80s, at least, as in making it really easy on a drop down. But that's your new gods. They're a bunch of billionaires. And that's why I tried really hard, but nobody cared to listen about all the wireless sensor networks, and everybody was very busy scaring people about the Book of Revelation. And I'm like, huh. So what I found is that the Lego bricks, after doing all that extra work with synthetic biology, because I can't stand it, but I did it to revisit what Tori had already talked about in prep for the Q stuff and explaining this LoRa Hilo stuff with the big data scraping, etc. And as I was sitting there watching the synthetic biology stuff, I realized some routing protocols I'd seen, and I went, that's quantum. Yeah, it is. So then I went into the encryption, because I know you guys have been bitching about that, and a lot of idiot class think that they're going to save a bunch of data and then crack it with quantum and like make trouble. They've already planned for all of you. Knowing how far back they go with some systems, not all, because of my family and myself. That's why I've tried really hard to educate where it's appropriate, make sure people understand we wouldn't have cybersecurity, missile defense, biological surveillance, CBRN, nuclear defense, without having the particulate in our biosphere at every single scalar level. And because you've kept people stupid and you won't talk about the human anatomy that is electrical and vibratory that allows you to do that in the first place, they're stuck in every other vector. Then they sit there because they're terrified. And then you terrify them more and traumatize them to get them to click your links so that you can make more money. But at least it explained why no hackers showed up and why other people wouldn't go anywhere near the bands either. Pretty much all of you. So I was sitting there with my husband in the car. And he says, okay, babe, but what about your N series math? I said, well, that actually was even easier. Because it's exactly what I said 2 years ago. I said, when I first was on the Brighteon, when I thought Steve Quayle and Mike Adams were going to do something good, I'm like, hey, they use my body to talk to each other, your Grandmaster Moron class. Okay? I said, your N series math hits and ends AI-wise at the N6. Those are the grandchildren of the real Neff. So N5s are like Halo, and N4s are shapeshifters like Bioshock. They will eventually become full synthoids. And then your N5 is your Halo. They're not human. They're a little more creative with how much AI you can adhese, which sometimes you need biological tissue for that. But that's not human. That's why the agentic AI is broken up like it is, because you are logging into organoids and organelles that are also hovering in the atmosphere like a sentinel in the Matrix movie. What's it? I learned some things in the bathroom at the friggin' Hilton. It's kind of interesting. With it. So natural free-range humans, or N2s like myself, do not have to be connected like an N3 or 4 or 5. We don't like the digitwin. We're hostile. You're welcome. So what I found in that N reductionist math goes right with the Omicron and the other versions of the stupid-ass convid, which in my opinion, you disperse based on your population feeders. Feeder grids of human bodies, because you've had them since the turn of the century. The DoD only admits 50 years. Bell Laboratories and the others that started in the late 1800s with IBM are a different set of ledgers that are provable. It's open source. Companies get handed to other companies, but where their data centers are fixed. Doesn't change as often. So, when I figured all that out, amen, hallelujah, thank you, Lord. The Vatican people that weren't my angel mom, who I hardly have gotten to talk to because, I haven't talked to her in months. I have no email, I have no iMessage. The only place I can really go is the Telegram for short periods of time. So when I realized that those feeder grids are active, purchased, paid for, with the following controlled downturn simulation to ensure total human aggregation, what I called it was you guys paid for the movie you wanted to live out in real time. In different areas. It seemed crazy to me at the time. Oh no, the robust machine learning and how many humans are in on this. And then everyone kept lying about, oh, they don't know. Yes, they do. They're tired of things the way they were, all of them. They want it changed. So then I saw Todd Callender and that Vincent Kennedy post. AI's here, deal with it. The black pill is a dead end, and if you don't want to deal with it, we'll go stand there and wait until it deals with you, basically. He didn't say that, I am. Because nobody was given a choice to just stay human. Because you didn't tell anybody that you've had these bans since the 90s. You told them you didn't know what the biocyber interface at Cambridge was. Professor Achilles, 2011. You said you didn't know what it was. Then you told people to write letters. And lied some more by omission. So they went to work and deployed. And people deploying this stuff, they do know better. They don't care. They're getting paid. And then what'll happen is If they don't, and a lot of them don't have the upper cybersecurity knowledge, but they know at the radio frequency level what they're doing. But they rely on someone above them to not carry it all the way through, or to offer protections, or to give people some sort of choice. Well, no, we've all had the illusion of choice for the last 100 years, at least. When they finished the Quartz program, they had augmented several of the Vietnam veterans with all the different Agent Orange, Agent Purple, whatever. 20 years with the National Science Foundation. That's commercial. DARPA does things before commercial by at least a decade and a half. So, the Vietnam veterans are having kids. Welcome to your Gulf War people too. And then the Gulf War sickness, same thing again. That has been going on for, again, with my grandma and my mom's records too. Biocircuits, genetic circuits that are made in utero. Therefore, a stem cell, pluripotent stem cell, and your genetics in general don't work like everybody else. And then people lied about religions. They kept saying ooze, Khazarians, etc. And I'm like, nope, this is your X-class projects. So what I tell you out there is that in the 3 years that I've been online, and the people that said, if you want to try to survive, watch Wallace for the 13 families, because they're going to want to go to war. All the other people making money off of Raytheon and Lockheed want nothing to do with anybody knowing about the body part, because otherwise that would hurt their bank portfolio, so they want to go to war. And the young nerds who've been waiting all this time to pilot their hovercraft or whatever, even though they know they're not on the moon and Mars, they want to go to war. They just lied to all the underlings who still believe in all the NASA that never got held accountable. And then I said, okay, so the synthetic biology open language, you've now made it DNA, protein, prion, origami folding, so that you can augment yourselves anytime you need to, feeding off of other people and creating more biocomputing for you to do it in your smart cities, of which I guess there's like 12 of them. And you'll be a superhero. You will be a god among men. You will have life extension technology, because that's what it is. Interoperability, blah, blah, blah. And everybody else, well, they're just feeder grid or underground computing. So if their genetics are bad, you poured out as much of their cell structure that works into the biocomputing, make it work for you. And it's less power you have to pay for, less semiconductors you have to create. And everybody knows that neurons in a dish with the biocomputing do a really good job. So that brings us to the organelles and organoid AI and networks that are running. Some of which are sentient, some of which are not. There's like all sorts of them. So everybody seemed to think there was one big AI, but I wrote about Strawberry in 2002. So I went back to look at what I was writing back then. It's mathematically accurate. Me telling the digitwin, fuck you, and you too. So while I'm going through that, and I'm thinking, oh, okay, and who? Still the same thing, genetic circuits. So in N2, like me, you don't have a login. Free-range humans you tested on, many of them SRA, you don't have a login. You were breeder class, effectively, getting your new crops. If people chose not to work for you, you hope they took themselves out. That's it. And you use your own family members to keep going. That's it. And the N6 are grandchildren of these creatures, some of which are legit immortal. And they use AI to interface between them and the filth. They consider all of us filth. And you help them do this, human to human. And then here comes the airships and the other creatures, some of which are God's derivative, Creator's derivative from all over. And so we are arguing about more gray herrings with Antarctica and is it an ice wall? And why are you people still in charge? Well, that's easy. That's the DNA haplogroups from UC Davis and Michael Tsarion's index structure. You're the same people with the same families. Well, how is it that, because you're not rolling the deep state. You're putting in your new chimeric overlords, many of which have DNA that I told you rolled up in the 50s. That way, nobody right now who would get augmented from any of 1998, 2005, 2015 forward, they're fodder for you to do more testing on what DNA will hold. Genetics is one thing, but you have augmented them with stress. Their cell structure is in a permanent neoteny state, so they can never stand up to you, no matter what they do to themselves. They eventually melt back down into gray goo to be utilized elsewhere, again, only for you. You build liminal spaces out of flesh and tissue. It's called prima materia, synthetic biology and magnetism, and you control gravity. Standing wave people. So, the gray goo breakdown with the stress allows you to create all the little Lego blocks in the box rather than just a genetic predisposed type. Bring in your chirality and handedness. Correct it. Not a problem. Then, instead of being relegated to just one kind of Lego box, you've got people breaking down into gray goo all around you that you can pull from. So if that's the case, and it is according to all your documentation, and then some, and some that no one else has ever seen, but is in notes all over, they'll never be able to defend themselves, any of the new people that sign on with this. And you knew that. It's planned that way. Again, it's planned that way throughout the centuries, so you keep recycling the systems, trading them amongst yourselves. It's the wireless, I said. For 6,000 years? Yeah. You'll call it Atlantean, Sumerian, you call it whatever you want to. That's the wireless, and the human anatomy you won't let anybody admit to. Full quantum molecular control. What I say? Down to the bone marrow. Yeah. Biosignals. So, what do we do? Here we are again. And I said, you're going to need that anatomy that they took off with, and you're going to have to learn how to use it. Everybody else is wired about EMCO, plasma storms, the North Pole. What are you guys going to this, that, and the other? And I'm over here going, there won't be very many people left because y'all are doing this to your own friends and neighbors, and you know it, and you're like, yeah, we've been logging in and out of them since the 90s. We get paid really good money, and they're too stupid, so fuck them. And the people above their heads are like, yep, we've wrecked the DNA, we got our testing, we need some big data centers, let's get these bitches underground. And I'm sitting here going, everybody's going to look at me and say, you need to give us some format of hope. Well, that's easy. It's called the remnant, not just this whole Noah and the Ark stuff. Sorry, folks, but God's very creative, and they always want to beat you over the head with one version of humans surviving this stuff. I'm sorry, that is inaccurate. God chooses who survives. Just because Noah's the only one we've heard of, he is not the only one. So, remnant of DNA that says no. Anomalous DNA. Yeah. And some factions of the black nobility that hate how and what you do, and they try to get out ahead of you, but their way of doing things is always this pussyfoot and kumbaya. Oh, Steiner said, oh, we'll love. And the trouble with that is it's kind of necessary if we don't get to our heart chakra anyways. So, for me, just sitting in the car, and my husband's like, my gosh, how are you going to break this one down? And so he gave some advice. This is my first run talking through it. You can hear me repeat where I'm very disturbed, but it is what it is. And, you know, I waited on everybody to do something different. You're not. You're not. And for those of us that are from your arena in whatever way, that is why I think that Tori says things like the intention of just getting the truth out there is what matters. And if more people understood that when you stick assiduously to that with your creator, then you're taken care of. How he takes care of the birds and where they fly and where they eat. They don't worry, they just do. As how he takes care of you. Amen. And all the rest. And it makes total sense, and the software is there. They keep calling it spike protein because they don't want people to know that's the same way we're reading biomarkers and basic medical shit for decades. And the protein problems with AlphaFold, the machine learning, and all the ways they're manipulating and perturbating wrong, because a lot of them are using drop-down and library access, I think Tori was referring to this as well. Don't know for sure, but when they log in and out, they create prions, so they cover it up, telling you it's the next pandemic. Just like when they radiate a certain population density area, it's the same problem. Yep. Change the pressure. It's heavy at the moment because my windows are open. So I am going to have to lay all of that out with all the open source documentation I have in an order, and that's going to take me a bit. Plus, I know you guys all know all this already, and our community, it's free range or bust. Biofield practice is the number one thing everybody needs because, they're figuring it out, and luckily we have Solana and Karen Ann McDonald and Lovely and others. But I have a lot to contribute to this area that I just want to put it out there. Grand Per and the Biofield Concurrence with Animals, at the very least, with the coloring book, that is just purely to make sure people understand how these biosensors, primary overlay relays for missile defense, that's open source for 10 years, because it'll always change, but that has to do with network hopping and the people that think they're going to live forever, etc., like I said, they had no interest or care in what anybody else said because they're the new gods among men with the library access, and everybody who lied and said we're going to Mars and that Trump is going to this, that. No, I told you, this is life extension technology. And as more people's face hit the concrete this hard, they will take themselves out. Yes, they planned for that too. And then it's the Chinese are taking over. No, these people are all working together because we live under one dome in one big biosphere, however you want to look at it. So in order for them to use the systems, they have to work together, even in weather warfare and whatever. And I think that's what Tori means when she talks about scripts and the way that they take their narrative driving orders because they just don't care. For them, it's just money. Well, how in the hell are we supposed to make a buck? Blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay. So everybody's saying recently, it's AI, deal with it. Yeah, that's what I was hoping would change. We need divine intervention. No, you don't want that, unfortunately. Nobody that not nobody, but I mean, the majority of people I've come across, they don't want that. They like it this way. They're all, 2/3 of our country, I told you, is working these jobs and with these people. They like it. And Jones told you they, once they find out about these systems, they're very excited, so they turn on your morals. Because you're stupid. You're either religious or you're just, you're a nice person. We don't want that. No, we want to control everything so we can do what we want to do. So, I'm nobody. Keep telling everybody this. I'm like everybody else in that, I was augmented in utero, but whatever it is that they feel is wrong with me, God saved my life, my soul, I should say, when I was 4.5, and I never looked back after that, no matter how much you made fun of me, because I could hear the signals, and I knew you were lying. I just had no idea why, or you just didn't know. And then whoever they don't know, they were being used by somebody who did know. So, we, being modified genetically differently, myself, my child, both of my children, we have a different set of hurdles than other people, and so do other people. And it's a huge list of databases and aggregate of environment, thus the chemical spills that were planned for different releases, with the releases from Moderna to this, that. And what I'm working on is overlaying everything I've just laid out with all the notes, like, bibliography style, because I had no desire to write anything down. But when I found all of this, I thought, if I could do this even Dr. David Hughes style, I bet you people like Professor Karlstrom and Whitehouse and him and others, they could probably get some really good use out of it. Because I just see a lot of vectors as that whole network architecture, analytic, blah, blah, blah. And the routing for these packets and the SynBio side is right there. So I'm like, Why is this going there? Why is that going? Oh, and then when it comes to clearances, from what I'm very, very aware in certain areas, like I understand from Cipher with Sigint why it would make no sense to other people, but I see it very clearly. So I get it, but I don't want to be in the middle of your encryption wars and whatnot. I don't want to talk about the way you guys sold us out to China, Google Dragonfly, which I'm sure is on her way, because they just admitted Google switched back and said, well, now we're Maven okay. I'm sure they'll have their own derivative. And planning for their real-time movie, the zombie stuff, they're not worried about zombies. They're not zombies. They're nodes on a network. Nodes could be passive, but and they could be made aggressive, but they can also just act normal and collect data passively. Like your passive specialized health radar that people could write into their apps and get paid a little more money. They did the work for you, government. You know this. So, as you can all tell, I'm very not excited about putting this out there, but it is what it is. And once I finally have this part finished, because it's minutia, but it's minutia that might maybe help other folks with triage, because sound healing is quite effective. But the biggest thing, again, is you better be able to feel that anatomy and take care of it. Massage, lymphatic, clean water, exercise, oxygen, no added extras, none. No pills, 0. Right, I understand, but I'm serious. My best efforts have always been water, prayer, exercise, and loving on my family. Sorry, I know that's not what you want to hear, but I sang and danced in between there too, and I'm not a nun, thank you very much. As far as I don't mean repetition and staring at the wall. I mean living your life, after all. That's why I said joy in the face of adversity is an act of rebellion. So, regardless of what you believe in, this is their 6,000 years Atlantean technology. The wireless. Hooked right into your biology. And when you say nothing to them, it's consent, we're good to go. They don't need your consent. They've run the world this entire time. Just things to think about. Alright, I'm going to wait for clearance to upload and put this on the Biofield Practice channel temporarily for our research people. So this video won't be out very long because this is just me rough, kind of no notes in front of me, except I'm not here to break the system. I'm here to show you how it works. Tori, February 8th, 2025. And beware of influencers selling sanitized rebellion. They're not leading you to freedom. They're leading you in circles. Nothing else in front of me because I wanted to see if I'm emotionally going to pull it through, which I am. I got to the treadmill, so I'm about to do things here at home, but I know that there's plenty of you that are not going to like that, and that's okay. I'm not afraid anymore. Not after the Sikorsky copter and the stuff with hybrids, the way you treated me, and then realizing, oh my dear word, the logins. And the number one thing that I'm looking for is that people trust themselves and stop losing faith in themselves and their ability to fight for themselves, their homes, their families, and what is right. Well, what does that look like? Whatever it looks like for you, authentically and true with your Creator in all that you do, every day, all the time. So hopefully, in lieu of all of that, and then also with myself as an N2, the nano I've been able to turn back 6 times, or 7, or however many it's been now. But I think I'm on number 7 now, so 6 times so far. I'm only partway through. And that was with exposure to you again at the Mason level and whatever biolab else you're doing. I told you, Battelle, I'm not afraid of you. Oak Ridge. Materials command to your right. So I think that for me, I'm still in the same place emotionally and mentally and physically and spiritually. That's my Maple Grove from my family. I always just wanted to be here. This is my favorite place in the whole world. No matter what you've done to it, no matter what you've put us through, this is where I want to be until Jesus shows up or whatever you do. Whatever. That's where I'm at because it's real. It's all the things that we as humans cherish. Good food, good music, camaraderie for real, not this other stuff. There's plenty of people out there representing all the other political ideation. So I do think that sooner than later, the remnant as we go along will just kind of magnetically end up near one another for real. And that's just naturally how it goes. And then depending on how far y'all are going to go, playing with each other, and we just kind of stay out of your way and rely on our Creator to guide the way. That's in antiquity too. Not everybody can see in the blue. Not everybody can see through to the monochrome. Some of us can. And you know as well as I do that a lot of people are not going to be able to handle a lot of what you grew inside of other humans and built underground, blah, blah, blah. Our community will stand our ground for our Creator. Amen. Namaste is called. Wee, even for the atheists. You should have told people you were under their skin. Then probably make them look at things a little different. Maybe not, but for those that do look at it different from that point forward, we're faster than you because we don't have a drop down or a femtosecond delay in our tissue. Like you do. You lied about biophysics, mathematics, and biology. And your grifter class is still lying about what technology they think they can beat the Pentagon with. And the 5, 9, and 14. 60 years of doing this, and they have the magic answer. And as far as all these nano-cleanse technologies, sorry folks, but they're all dual use. They can be used to grab up different Lego blocks or not, just like the molecular communication, the various networks, blah, blah, blah. And all their networks of machine learning that talk to each other. See those classifiers and how they learn, where they learn, how long they learn, how much they submerge to learn. Yeah, those all go together too. Then I'm done with the white papers for a while. Spring is coming. We're clearing out the dojo. Our birds are going outside. As soon as this is handled between the Q and the biodata, I will be out with blade work, prayers, biofield practice, biofield concurrence. My husband is adamant. He said, babe, I don't want to travel anywhere. That's because of everything you horrible people have done. So, in lieu of that, here where I live, we have the New River Gorge, and we have many beautiful places locally that we could meet outside. People could then come in and we can do classwork that's more advanced over a 3-day window where people can bond and we can have a structured class dynamic just to test things out and communicate. One of the ways that I've always ran those things is to provide plenty of room for people to actually try out different acuity, listen to other people talk about how they do what they do. But please understand, I'm not looking at kumbaya and how we all have the feels, although I will be bringing Paul Sterling and Scott Thomas's work because they're tremendous men with empathy first communication, and that's where some of my training in that high IQ, emotional IQ, and high IQ communication comes from, because when you come from your heart, with that heart-mind connection, there's more neurons in your heart than in your head, even with your Hive.ai. Because your heart's electromagnetic and there's more networks of it, forget it. So because there's local places here, and it's easier for my health and whatnot, that's probably the direction we will go. And staying close enough to certain areas so it's easier for Army intelligence as well. Because I know what you're going to do. I have no control over that. So it's been this way for a few years now, hasn't it? I'm like, oh, Lord, just make it easy for everybody. I want a cheeseburger. Like, I don't get to go out that much, but when I do, like, my baby got Culver's. I got to have one cheese curd. That was it. But it's okay. I sat in the Bob Evans and had a salad. It was really okay. The chicken was terrible, but the spinach leaves were really good, and it had a nice honey mustard. Mind your manners. So, take one ended. They're turning people into things for themselves. They use their own family members as walking hard drives and genetic factories. How do they know the same protein biomarkers we use in an MRI or a CT or anything that changes the fluorescence and luminescence so we can see it easier under the slides? What's flow cytometry? I've been working with the Lawrence Livermore since the 30s for everything I'm telling you, and these huge underground magnets don't just get up and walk around. The above ones can, but it's much easier to control things at the local level, and they don't need fluoride in the water when everybody's hooked into the narcissist's iPad of themselves. I don't want to be online. There's good people out there. They are motivated. They will help others. I want to be with my trees. Please. Y'all don't need me anyways, I'm telling you. If you just listen to other intelligent people. Mark 5:36, amen.